The old dragster looked like nothing more than a forgotten piece of rust, its faded paint peeling away under years of dust, its cracked tires sinking into the gravel like it had already accepted its fate. Everyone standing around laughed when the billionaire CEO pointed toward it with a mocking smile. The challenge sounded impossible, almost cruel. Start that $500 dragster, and it's yours. The crowd expected another embarrassing failure, another broken dream crushed beneath the weight of wealth and arrogance. But they never noticed the quiet mechanic standing near the edge of the lot. His hands were scarred from years of honest labor, his clothes carried the stains of engine oil that never seemed to wash away, and his eyes held something far more powerful than confidence. They carried memories. As he slowly walked toward the forgotten machine, nobody realized that the rusty dragster was about to awaken more than an old engine. It was about to uncover a story no amount of money could ever buy. If you believe kindness, second chances, and hard work can change a person's destiny, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to SoulTales for more unforgettable stories that remind us what truly matters in life. The mechanic's name was Daniel, and life had never offered him shortcuts. 20 years earlier, he had been one of the brightest young racers in the state, a gifted driver whose future seemed destined for trophies and championships. But one terrible accident changed everything. The crash didn't take his life, but it stole his confidence, shattered his dreams, and left him responsible for raising his younger sister after their parents passed away only months later. Racing became a memory locked away inside an old toolbox, replaced by endless workdays fixing broken engines for customers who barely remembered his name. Every dollar he earned disappeared into rent, food, school fees, and hospital bills. While others chased success, Daniel chased survival. Years rolled by, and the racing world forgot him completely. His small garage barely stayed open as giant repair chains moved into town. Customers became fewer every month. Bills piled higher than the shelves filled with old spare parts. There were nights when Daniel quietly skipped dinner so his sister, now in college, could continue pursuing the education he sacrificed everything to provide. He never complained because he believed that real strength wasn't measured by victories but by the people who depended on you. Across the city stood Victor Harlow, the celebrated CEO of one of the country's fastest-growing automotive companies. Every magazine praised his business genius. Every television interview celebrated his success. Yet behind the polished smile lived a man who had slowly forgotten the value of ordinary people. His company hosted extravagant automotive festivals every year, attracting thousands of spectators eager to witness expensive supercars, celebrity drivers, and impossible challenges designed more for entertainment than fairness. This year's event featured dozens of million-dollar race cars lined up beneath bright lights while drones filmed every dramatic moment. But parked alone behind the main stage sat an ancient dragster bought from a junkyard for only $500. The CEO proudly announced that anyone brave enough to start the forgotten machine could keep it. The audience laughed because everyone knew the engine hadn't turned over in decades. Mechanics had already inspected it and declared it hopeless. Daniel had only attended because a friend offered him a free ticket, hoping it might lift his spirits after another difficult month at the garage. He wandered through rows of polished luxury vehicles, admiring engineering that felt worlds away from his daily struggle. When he heard the CEO's challenge, something deep inside him stirred. The dragster looked strangely familiar. Every scratch, every dent, every handmade modification reminded him of someone he once admired. As Daniel approached the neglected machine, he recognized a small engraved emblem hidden beneath layers of rust. It belonged to his late mentor, an old racer named Frank Morrison, the man who had taught him everything about engines before passing away years earlier. Frank always believed machines carried memories. He often said that engines remembered the hands that built them. The crowd continued laughing as Daniel quietly knelt beside the dragster. Instead of reaching for the ignition, he gently brushed decades of dirt from the carburetor, checked the fuel lines, examined every cable, and closed his eyes for a brief moment. To everyone watching, it looked like pointless delay. But Daniel wasn't guessing. He was listening. Years spent repairing forgotten vehicles had taught him that every machine speaks differently to those patient enough to understand. The CEO folded his arms with an amused grin, convinced another failure was moments away. Cameras zoomed in, waiting to capture embarrassment for millions of viewers online. Social media commentators prepared jokes before the engine had even been touched. Daniel reached behind the driver's seat. The crowd fell silent. Hidden beneath torn upholstery rested an old emergency fuel primer that almost nobody knew existed anymore. Frank had always installed one in his race cars as a backup during cold starts. Daniel smiled softly as memories flooded back. He carefully primed the system, adjusted the choke by hand, tightened one loose ignition wire, and climbed into the worn driver's seat. The first attempt produced only silence. The second brought a faint cough. The third awakened something magical. The ancient engine exploded to life with a thunderous roar that echoed across the entire speedway. Flames burst briefly from the exhaust pipes before settling into the deep, powerful rhythm of a perfectly balanced racing engine. Birds scattered into the sky. Thousands of spectators froze in complete disbelief. Mechanics stared at one another, unable to explain what they had just witnessed. The CEO's confident smile disappeared instantly. Daniel didn't celebrate. He simply rested his weathered hands on the steering wheel, gently thanking the machine that everyone else had abandoned. The applause started slowly before becoming overwhelming. People who had laughed only moments earlier now stood cheering louder than they had for any supercar that day. The forgotten mechanic had accomplished what wealth, technology, and expert opinions declared impossible. True to his public promise, the CEO handed Daniel the ownership papers. But as cameras continued recording, Daniel discovered an envelope tucked inside the glove compartment. It contained faded photographs of Frank Morrison beside the same dragster decades earlier, along with a handwritten note. The note explained that Frank had always believed someone worthy would someday discover the car again. It wasn't left to the richest bidder or the fastest driver. It belonged to the person who respected forgotten things. Daniel could barely hold back his tears. News of the remarkable moment spread across the country overnight. Millions watched the video repeatedly, not because an old car started, but because they witnessed humility defeating pride. Messages poured into Daniel's tiny garage from strangers inspired by his perseverance. Customers returned, not out of sympathy, but because they trusted someone who clearly valued craftsmanship over shortcuts. Meanwhile, the CEO found himself unable to forget the look in Daniel's eyes. For the first time in years, he realized success had quietly replaced compassion inside his own heart. He visited Daniel's garage without cameras, reporters, or executives. Instead of offering charity, he offered partnership. Together they launched a restoration program that trained unemployed young mechanics to rebuild forgotten classic cars while learning valuable technical skills. Many of those young people had once believed life had already passed them by. Under Daniel's guidance, they discovered confidence one repaired engine at a time. Some eventually opened their own repair shops. Others became respected engineers. The ripple effect reached families who finally found hope after years of struggle. Daniel never became famous for winning races. His greatest victory came from proving that forgotten people often carry extraordinary gifts waiting for one opportunity. The rusty dragster remained inside his garage, never sold despite collectors offering millions. Every morning he gently wiped away the dust before opening for business, reminding himself that true value is rarely found beneath shiny paint. Years later, visitors still asked why he kept such an old machine instead of replacing it with something newer. Daniel would simply smile because the dragster wasn't a trophy. It was a reminder that broken dreams can still start again when someone believes enough to reach behind the seat instead of giving up. Before we reach the ending, tell us in the comments, what part of Daniel's journey touched your heart the most, and have you ever been given a second chance that changed your life forever? We'd love to read your story, ****. The greatest miracles rarely announce themselves with flashing lights or roaring applause. They often arrive disguised as forgotten opportunities that everyone else walks past. Daniel's life proved that patience, humility, and perseverance can awaken possibilities buried beneath years of disappointment. Sometimes the world only sees rust, while someone with a kind heart sees potential waiting to breathe again. That is why no act of honest work is ever wasted, and no dream is truly dead as long as hope still turns the key. If this story moved your heart and reminded you that kindness and second chances still exist in this world, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to SoulTales so we can continue bringing you powerful stories that inspire hope, courage, and compassion. Thank you for being part of this journey, and remember, sometimes the smallest opportunity can completely change a life forever.